ResortLoop.com is proud to be sponsored by Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company. Joffrey's now offers coffee subscriptions. You can order a 3, 6, or 12-month subscription. You can choose from 3 collections: the Flavored Coffee Collection, the Roastmasters Collection, or the Disney Signature Coffee Collection. Each collection includes 3 bags per month. With the Joffrey's Coffee subscriptions, never run out of great coffee again. Learn more and order at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
We are now passing through the Transportation and Ticket Center on our way to the Polynesian Village Resort Hotel. If you'd like to return to the Transportation and Ticket Center, you may do so by boarding an express monorail at the Magic Kingdom station.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is ResortLoop.com, the gateway to the magic. Hope everybody is having a fantastic week. Right here in the Midwest and in Ohio, we're having fantastic weather. Weather that's been warmer than it has been for this long of a stretch this late in the year. I've heard since 1977, so we'll go with that. I've been hearing that a lot recently. But anyway, later in the show, we're going to have some cast member stories from our friends at Looper Nation Live over at our private Facebook group. And I believe we also posted it a couple other places where we have some great cast member interactions that we're going to talk about, kind of celebrating the cast members. They're going through a lot. Hope everybody is trying to support them. You can always use the cast member pantry. You can Google them. I believe that's over on Facebook. And I'm sure they would appreciate any support you can get during this time until we can get past the whole current affairs of the coronavirus, get some people touring the parks again on a more regular basis, get more visitors out there. And I know it's not that nobody wants to. Everybody wants to. We're just waiting for it to be a little bit safer. We'll see. But before we get to all that stuff, I want to talk about some news that's going on out there that we've not touched on recently. Disney Cruise Line, by the way, if you're thinking of booking a Disney cruise or you've had a Disney cruise booked through the end of the year, Disney Cruise Line, I'm just going to go ahead and read their announcement here, remains focused on health and the well-being of our guests and team members. They're carefully reviewing the guidance of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and working with industry partners to resume operations. As we continue to refine our protocols for our eventual return to service, we have decided to cancel all sailings through December 2020. And they involve all 4 ships. You don't even list the individual ships. You know what they are. Fantasy, Wonder, Magic, Dream. That's all 4. Hopefully a new one in a couple years or so. We'll see how that goes. But the no-sail order actually expired, it looks like the end of October. So they could begin cruising right away, but I think they're just going to, see how the numbers are going, with the whole coronavirus, because we're in an uptick, it looks like right now, so they don't want to get that started right now. This will give them some time to, as they mentioned, get the protocols going. But I wanted to mention this. They mentioned working with the CDC, and the CDC actually has a new report out. So I'm just going to touch on this real briefly. It's a 40-page full report. I just want to touch on some high points here. The first key point, the initial phase will include lab testing of the crew on board the ships. And this is on board the ships in the U.S. waters. So if it's a ship flagged somewhere else, if they're in U.S. waters, they're going to have to follow all these procedures as well. There will also be a series of simulated voyages. These are with volunteer passengers over 18 with no pre-existing conditions. No news about that yet. Don't ask me how to get a free cruise. I have no information on that whatsoever. But when I do, we'll probably talk about that. That's kind of interesting to think about. Would you be willing to take a free cruise? Let's see. And this is aimed at testing the cruise ship's operators' ability to mitigate COVID spread, should there be a breakout. I'm going to talk about that again in a second because I have some interesting information also from further down this report. After the successful completion of the tests and the volunteer cruises, the cruise ship will apply for certification to return to revenue-generating passenger voyages, still employing the safety measures to mitigate the spread. And the third one is testing protocols appear to include weekly testing of existing crew, as well as testing of all passengers and crew on the day of embarkation and disembarkation. So you're going to have tested when you get on and when you get off. Some of the requirements for the cruise lines will include a medical agreement between onshore medical facilities for evacuated crew and passengers in need of care. B, a housing agreement for those needing quarantine. C, port agreements permitting the docking in the event of an outbreak. And even D, arrange non-commercial transportation for passengers disembarking from a sailing with COVID-19 above a certain threshold. So if you have we have a major COVID-19 breakout on a cruise ship, they're going to have to figure out some way to get people to where they need to be. But the other thing I want to touch on just real quick, because I just found this super interesting. I remember the original COVID outbreak when this first happened was on the cruise ship. I believe it was the, and I have it right here, the Diamond Princess. This will be a little trivia you can play with someone else later. And this is actually from the CDC report. They say the basic reproduction rate for the COVID-19 on the ship was 14.8, so we'll just say 15, before the ship-wide quarantine was enacted. That means that for each case on board the ship, each case transmitted COVID-19 to about 15 other people. So you can see how this ship became infected so quickly. Each person infected 15 other people. And that rate is 4 times larger than the same spread of the original epicenter outbreak in Wuhan, China, which was just under 4 at 3.7. So in Wuhan, China, where it started 3.7, on board the Diamond Princess at the time, 14.8. So just a little interesting tidbit of information there. So you can see why the Centers for Disease Control, the cruise lines, the Cruise Line International Association, CLIA, have all gotten together to mitigate the spread of this and to enact the protocols. And that's what the whole Disney Cruise Line thing. So after the first of the year, we'll see how things go. But there might be some free cruises. So we'll see how that goes. And let us know if you're post over Looper Nation Live, you think you'd be willing to take a free cruise and check out when help these cruise lines get up and going. Although who knows if Disney will do that. So well, I guess they would have to. Another brief Disney news topic just to talk about. Minivan service to and from MCO, Orlando International Airport. I don't even need to read this word for word. It's not going right now, so don't think you're going to book the minivan service to and from the airport. There'll be other transportations. You might have to rent a car, or a Magical Express is still an option. But then there's other services you could use. But minivan service right now, not available. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody. One other news story, and actually there's a couple more, but this one is very interesting because usually once Disney does something, you don't hear anything about it. They just kind of let it, hopefully just die on the vine and throw out other updates for everybody. But this was focused on the update on the entertainment at Walt Disney World. This came, right after the announcement of the other layoffs that were actually included in the first layoffs, but they didn't get the notices for all the shows. The Hoop-Dee-Doo, the Luau, all those kinds of things. Oh, Legend of the Lion King. It was a devastating day for Disney News. Then Disney put out a statement saying, recently we've had to make some difficult decisions to reduce our workforce as the business impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic have become more long-lasting than anyone could have predicted. As a result, we've had to pause many live shows and entertainment experiences at our resort for longer than originally anticipated. While it's impossible at this time to fully replace the incredible environment that existed throughout our parks before the pandemic, we are offering live entertainment in new ways whenever possible, including character cavalcades in all 4 parks and pop-up appearances, yada, yada, yada. Additionally, we're featuring modified shows, such as the popular For the First Time in Forever, a Frozen sing-along collection. I wouldn't need to read all those. But they said this extends to our seasonal offerings with Halloween underway and the holidays right around the corner. In fact, fan favorites Voices of Liberty are set to make their return to the Jaminators and the Mariachi Cobre at the American Gardens Theater during the upcoming Taste of Epcot Festival of the Holidays, beginning on November 27th, so that's coming up fast. They continue to say determining which shows can return and when is a complex process. As with the rest of our phased reopening, we also consider the guidance of health officials and government agencies in determining when the time will be right to adjust capacity, and as soon as appropriate, we will bring back additional entertainment. Then they say, like most of our fans, we know that our beloved entertainment cast are an incredibly special and essential part of the Disney experience. We look forward to the day when we can welcome back more live entertainment to our parks, and we will share more news about these announcements as we're able to do so. So my guess is with this whole announcement, I think Disney got a lot of flack and feedback and a lot of upset people about, letting all these entertainment cast members go because everybody loves all the entertainment. So I think they just felt like they needed to respond saying, we're going to bring them back. I'm not sure that we're going to bring everybody back, but we'll see how things go. This might be another disaster opportunity to see what we can cut and maybe come out with some new shows. And doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be bad. There might be some better shows coming out. So, but I'm sure some of the biggies, like I'm sure Hoop-Dee-Doo will come back. I would think Legend of the Lion King will be back, but we can only wait and see. All right, the last news story I want to touch on is involving Rise of the Resistance. Say Disney's Hollywood Studios is piloting a new approach to virtual queue for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. So piloting is either play on the words for piloting something, which I don't think you do in this necessarily, or for it's a program that we're not sure will work or not. But I think so far it's had some pretty good feedback, so we'll see. It's clear the force is strong with Star Wars Rise of the Resistance at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Since its debut last year, this spectacular experience inside Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, or some people call it Star Wars Land, has proven to be one of the most popular attractions at Walt Disney World. To better help guests visiting Disney's Hollywood Studios plan ahead for their day at the park, we're piloting a new approach to the virtual queue system for Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Starting November 3rd, so it started earlier this week. Here's how it's working. Guests with a valid ticket or an annual pass and a Disney Park Pass reservation, so don't forget you need the ticket and the reservation so they know you're going to the park. I'll be able to access the virtual queue system and check for an available boarding group starting at 7 a.m. on the day of their park reservation. This can be done before the guest leaves their Disney Resort hotel or wherever else nearby they might be at the time. So if you're at your hotel in your room, you can check and see if you can get a boarding pass. Or if you're maybe at a restaurant somewhere on Disney property having breakfast, you can probably get one there. I'm not sure if it'll work, say, if you're just in Florida, if you're a 2-hour plane flight away. I don't know. We'll see how big their geolocation and geofencing is for that. But they go on to say, just as we do today, the virtual queue will reopen at 2 p.m. So again, they have the one at 7 a.m. They have the other one at 2 p.m. This is for anyone who wasn't able to join the first scanning group early in the day, but you must be inside the Hollywood Studios in order to do that. So 7 a.m., you can be somewhere close to Disney and try to get a boarding pass. Or at 2 p.m., on the dot, by the way, you can try to request one while you're in the park. So I'll be anxious to see how this goes, if people are actually able to get some boarding passes at their hotel, and if the system works really well. So I'm anxious to hear if you've done this. Let us know over at Looper Nation Live or email me at tim@ResortLoop.com. I'd love to hear this. But they're hoping that this new approach will make a day at Disney's Hollywood Studios more enjoyable and relaxing. I think part of this is people are still on vacation, and I like to get up early and get to the parks. I don't know if I want to be in the parks right at rope drop to get in there by 7 a.m. to request a boarding group. But if I can do it in my hotel room, roll over in bed, open up the app, find out I have either a ride at 10 a.m. or a ride later in the day, maybe relax a little bit more and not hit the ground running so hard. So I think this is a good call. I'll be anxious to see if this eventually leads to, making reservations days ahead of time instead of just the same day. But interesting. We'll see how this goes. Very excited. Anyway, a couple weeks ago when Disney first announced that there were going to be cast member layoffs on a much larger scale, I wanted to get Looper Nation's input. I want to hear your cast member stories. What was a touching story or a fun story or some great character interaction you had with cast members? And we had lots of great listener feedback on that question. Karen Ellis starts us off. She says, thanks for a great podcast. Oh, thank you, Karen. You're so sweet. She said, it was our last day and we were on our way out of the Hollywood Studios to catch the Magical Express to the airport. My little guy dropped his Mickey bar. Extreme sadness. A cast member saw it and presented him with a new Mickey bar. She had no idea it was our last day. It meant a lot to me. Another time, they had room for one more kid in the Captain Jack Sparrow Pirate Tutorial show, but I have 3. They were in line hoping to get picked and a cast member let them all in. We didn't know that it would be their last chance ever. The show is gone and the little ones grow up. That show and the actors were awesome. Way back in the day before the Magic Bands, we had to vacation on a small budget. Our large family group drove to Florida. We were staying in tents at Fort Wilderness and were surviving on trail mix. Oh my. My mom-in-law lost her park ticket. We tore up our campsite searching for it for hours, and finally the family went to the park without her. We couldn't afford another one. Later that day, we saw her beautiful beaming face strutting happily towards us at Epcot's World Showcase. A custodial cast member had noticed her looking sad at the campsite, engaged her in a conversation, and arranged to replace her ticket. We cherish these moments with our family trips so much. Oh, Karen, thanks for sharing that. That is awesome. Oh, the cast members, just fantastic. And once again, thanks for sharing that. That was very touching. Barbara Holloway Hamilton says, we had a waitress at Kona that forgot one thing, and she gave us a 15% discount and free drinks. Totally unnecessary. But then Barbara also said, you can also tweet at Cast Compliment, and Disney will recognize them. So that's a good tip. Thank you, Barbara, for telling us that. Jeremy Hunt, good friend Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy. He says, don't tell anyone this. So I'm not going to tell anyone. So we'll just keep this between you and me. But we always ask for Joanne or Holly at Mama Melrose's and Disney's Hollywood Studios because they are incredible and have become like friends. Even if we can't get in their section, they'll come over and chat. They're amazing people. Moreau Dance, who does magic in Disney Springs, unable to now, unfortunately, who time and again would do outstanding magic at our table at Jock Lindsay's. A couple of months ago, we inquired about how Mickey's Runaway works for ADA folks. And instead of just telling us, a cast member got someone to cover a station, took us all the way through the line, explaining how the process works, and then took us right in the ADA vehicle and let us ride with him with no wait. We were stunned. These people truly make the magic. Without them, even the best park is just a park. I'm hoping that all of them find their way back soon. Jeremy, thank you so much. That is an amazing story. That is a great to know that they will do that for you. Friend of the show, Jim McNair, says, I talked about this in my blog, but is well worth revisiting. I was at All-Star Sports and getting coffee for my wife when on the way back, I turned my ankle over and sprained it pretty badly. Ooh. It grew purple and I couldn't walk on it to begin with. Within moments, the manager of All-Star Sports was there with an assistant offering me first aid. He and the assistant was wonderful and they did their best to maintain the magic even for a newly injured guest. He offered to pay for an ECV at the parks. The cost wasn't bad, so we just absorbed the cost ourselves, but the offer made us smile. He may never remember me or my accident, but I will always remember him and his assistant for taking such fine care of me. Oh, Jim, sorry to hear about that, but see how nice they were? Try to, supply him with his own ECV. They were to take care of it, and it wasn't even their fault, so Jim, thank you for sharing that. Denise Watson says, major pixie dust back in September of 2019. Myself and friends were seeking shelter from pouring rain in the studios. We were wedged between Hollywood Scoops and Fairfax Fair. It was pouring on us. Friends were eating ice cream. Cast member and Jock, hope I pronounced that right, asked if we wanted ice cream, and I said no. Cookie? Again, no thank you. Brownie? I said no, thank you. I want a hamburger. He ran out of the train. He didn't run out of the train. I'm sorry. There was no moving train. He moved out of the rain. That'd be a great story, though. He ran out of the train through the rain and came back with a piping hot hamburger and fries. I could have cried. Oh, Denise, that's touching. And let me know where that train is over at Hollywood Studios. Jamie Price. Hey, Jamie, the JJP says, I've had a lot of good interactions and conversations with many cast members. Epcot's World Showcase and Animal Kingdom Lodge are hotspots for interesting cast members. That's a good point, Jamie, because you have people from all over the world there, and they have great stories and give you maybe a little different outlook than just being an American. So that's awesome. Also, one day we were at Epcot and my son lost his Mickey car that we bought in a gift shop earlier in the trip. It was a simple car that cost like $9, but my son was and still is very clingy with certain things: toys, blankets, empty deodorant sticks. I don't know where that one went, but I could see the toys and blankets. I think there's another story there. We asked a cast member at Mouse Gear if anyone had turned one in. She said no and said, wait just a moment. She talked to somebody and came back with an identical car shortly thereafter. It was a small gesture, but it was very much appreciated, and you won't get that kind of service at Walmart. James, boy, ain't that the truth. You must have a Walmart similar to mine. Anyway, thanks, Jamie. Chad Pennycuff. Hey, Chad, how you doing? Chad, by the way, if you have not checked him out, Chad over at My DVC Points podcast. So, with all the DVC members that can't travel during the pandemic, there's an unusual surplus of points and availability. We matched up donated points with 3 cast member families and got them free staycations at the Polynesian and the Animal Kingdom Villas Jumbo House, Savannah View. 2 of the 3 families were laid off. One's job was prominent and happily ever after, hoop-de-doo, Voices of Liberty. Some of the most solid cast members you'll ever meet. The emotional blow of turning in the cast member badge after years is hard on them. Other members donated money so we could cover dog care and meals. If anybody has DVC points to use or lose, there's more cast members on the lists. So, Chad, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for doing that. That's amazing. If anyone out there does have points, contact Chad Pennycuff, and we'll see if we can get those donated to members who would really, or cast members that would really appreciate that. Chad, thank you so much. Katie Elizabeth, she says, we've had so many of them. The most recent was in April 2019 when my family and I stayed at Old Key West for the Star Wars race. On the boat ride back from Disney Springs to the Old Key West, the captain could tell my kids needed a distraction. He took the time to talk to them and gave them each a cute bracelet. It might have been a small gesture, but it meant a lot to us. Katie, how cool is that? I mean, it takes so little to make kids happy, and they're having a little bit of a, we'll just call it downtime. And I'll say when kids notice adults being nice to them, I think it just helps propagate goodness, propagates, being nice. As we say, just be nice. TJ Fry says, my 2 favorite cast member interactions both happened on the same trip. How magical is this? It was marathon weekend of 2011. My oldest was in the 5th grade at the time. Since we had to pull her out of school for a couple of days, she did a report. She brought a stuffed Penguin around the parks and took pictures with him on his adventures. When cast members would ask her about it, which several did, they would bring the Penguin backstage for pictures with us. How cool is this? I remember one where he was backstage at the conservation station in Animal Kingdom, working with all the equipment. Man, I'm jealous of that penguin. The same trip, Kid 2 celebrated her 8th birthday. Cinderella was her favorite at the time. While we weren't able to get into the CRT, known as Cinderella's Royal Table, I did get an ADR at 1900 Park Fair. Best character meal ever. When Lady Tremaine came over, she spent a fair amount of time talking to my son, age 5 then, about why she didn't like princesses. It was priceless. Oh, that's so cool. Lady Tremaine's fantastic. And I was going to say I enjoy buffets, but there might not be buffets for a while. But always good food there at 1900 Park Fair. Susan Gunn says, on our recent trip, we entered the Animal Kingdom at park opening and we were greeted by all the cast members. It actually brought a tear to my eye. It was completely unexpected and a great way to start our trip. And she actually has a picture she posted over at Looper Nation Live with all the cast members waving to her as they walked in. So that's awesome. Excellent. And we'll close things out here with Michelle Rosario. She says, this was 6 years ago or so. We just had a bad red-eye flight with issues with our plane, so it was a long journey from the West Coast. We were exhausted and knew we'd have to wait until later in the day for our villa. No harm, no foul, it was what it was. The cast member checking us in at Jumbo could see we were tired, and I guess I'd ask if we wouldn't mind waiting a few moments as he went to the back. Neither of us thought anything of it. With a big smile, he handed us a room key card. Your villa won't be ready until later today, but here's a room on the hotel side. It's yours until tomorrow. You can nap and shower, and we will text you when your villa is ready. It was unexpected and so appreciated. How cool is that? You've taken a long flight with, plane problems. You get there thinking, I could just use a shower and a nap. They give you a room until your villa's ready. Michelle, that is awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That is awesome. Thank you to everyone for sharing your cast member stories. This just goes to show why the cast members are so wonderful at Disney, how they make our trips so magical. I just want all the cast members to know we are thinking of you, and we hope you can get back to doing what you love and what we love for you to do. So if you're interested in helping out Disney cast members that have been laid off recently, go over to castmemberpantry.com. That'll take you right to their Facebook page where they'll tell you where you can donate food goods. They will accept monetary donations. I believe they'll accept gift cards. They have an Amazon wish list you can be a part of to help people get what they need during these times. So I'll link to that in the show notes. Also, like Chad Pennicuff said, if you'd like to help out cast members by donating DVC points that you can't use, look them over at my DVC Points podcast. I'll put the notes to that also in the show notes. I'm sure Chad would be happy to help you out and everybody here that listens to ResortLoop.com. If you have a cast member story you'd like to share, why don't you post it for us over at Looper Nation Live, our private Facebook group. If you're not a member of our private Facebook group, look us up. Looper Nation Live over there. We'd be happy to have you on board. We talk a lot of Disney. Everyone's very nice. Everyone's very friendly. It's just a family-friendly group. That's what I love about Looper Nation Live. Now, I need to wrap this show up. Hope you'll enjoy the news. I was interested to see how the virtual queue goes. Remember, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the Star Wars. Is that how you're supposed to end a show? It sounds familiar, like something I used to listen to in the 80s. Anyway, I'm Tim Scott. Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. If you've been on a train at Disney's Hollywood Studios, let me know where I can catch that. Oh, my goodness. You've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. We'll see you, everybody. Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.